Hi family, welcome back to ladensercrochets. If you're joining us for the first time, you're welcome. Kindly subscribe and join the family. My name is Liz, and in this tutorial we're going to make this V-neck top using the solid shell stitch. I combined a total of 6 colors and I totally love the outcome. You can do this top with scrap yarn that has been sitting around that you want to put into use. Using a plain color will also be totally okay. So grab those materials and let's get into the tutorial. These are the shades that I'm working with. The yarn is a medium weight yarn. It's called Winter King and it's a Kenyan brand. As you can see, it's 100% acrylic and it's a 4-ply yarn. You can substitute this yarn with any medium weight yarn of your choice. The other thing that you're going to need is a hook, a 4mm crochet hook. You actually can use any size of a hook. Then a darning needle, stitch markers, a pair of scissors, and a measuring tape. I'll be using the 2.5mm crochet hook for the ribbon. We're going to make 2 identical panels, and I've already done one, even though there is one color that I've not done it with yet. So the starting chain of this panel is double the length of the top that I want minus the ribbon. So as you can see, when I fold it into 2, I get the length of the top. And when I measure this length, I'm at about 13 inches and I want to work up to 15. Yeah, 15 will be the full length of my top. So that extra length is represented by the ribbon. And then when I measure the width of the top, it should get me to a quarter of my bust measurement. My bust measurement is 36 and this should get me to 9. You can work this while stretching or you can work it without stretching. Depends with the fitting that you want on the top, and I don't want my top to be tight, so I'll be working that without stretching. So now I'll get this shade and this is what I'm going to begin with. And we're going to begin with a slip knot as usual. So make your slip knot. And then we're going to make a chain that is equivalent to the length of the top that you want multiplied by 2. So this right here is my starting chain. And I'm going to chain a total of 80 chains. If you want your top longer, you're going to chain more. If you want it shorter, you're going to chain less. So let me go ahead and chain 80 and then I'll be back. Make sure that the chain that you make should be a multiple of 2. Now the multiple of 2 should be something that when you divide by the 2, you get an even number. So 80 divided by 2, that's 40. 40 is an even number. If you take a number like 82 and you divide it by 2, that will be 41. And 41 is an odd number and we do not want that. So you cannot work with 82, but you can work with 84. You cannot work with 86, but you can work with 88. You cannot work with 90, but you can work with 92. I hope that makes sense. So go on, make that chain, and then after that, we're going to begin working our first row. Your starting chain should actually be a multiple of 4 and not 2. So I have my 80 chains and I'm ready to begin row 1. And when I measure this, it should give me double the length of the top that I'm working. So this should get me to 26. Now, to begin row 1, we're going to add one more chain to our chain. So we get to 81. And then we block off that chain that we've added. And then we chain another chain. And then go into the chain that we are holding, insert our hook, and pull up a loop. To get 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops to complete a single crochet, yarn over, skip the second chain and work a double crochet into the 3rd chain, and we're going to work a total of 3 double crochets into the 3rd chain. So we have a single crochet, skipped chain, then 3 double crochets. We skip the next chain and work into the chain that follows with a single crochet, yarn over, skip the next chain and work into the next one, place 3 double crochets, skip the next one and work a single crochet, and then we skip and work 3 double crochets. So we are alternating between a single crochet and 3 double crochets and skipping a chain in between. And this is a pattern that we're going to repeat till we get to the end of this row. As we come to the end, we're going to skip the second last chain and work a single crochet into the very last stitch. If you do not end up with a single crochet, then your stitch count is wrong. Chain 2 and turn to begin row 2. We begin with a double crochet into that very first stitch, just 1 double crochet. So together with the chain 2, we have 2 double crochets. Skip the next stitch, work a single crochet into the next one, which is the second double crochet of the shell from the previous row. Yarn over, skip the next and work 3 double crochets into the single crochet stitch from the previous row. Skip, work a single crochet into the second double crochet, then 3 double crochets into the single crochet stitch. Next we have a single crochet into the middle double crochet from the previous shell, 3 double crochets into the single crochet stitch, and repeat the pattern to the end of row 2. I'm coming to the end of row 2 and I'm placing my last single crochet. Then into the last stitch, which is a single crochet stitch, we're going to place 2 double crochets. Just 2 and not 3. So we have 2 double crochets at the end and 2 double crochets at the beginning of row 2. To begin row 3, we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to start in that very first stitch with a single crochet. Then yarn over, skip the next stitch, work 3 double crochets into the next single crochet stitch. Skip a chain, skip a stitch, work a single crochet on top of the second double crochet, 3 double crochets into the single crochet stitch. And this pattern is quite simple. We're just working 3 double crochets and a single crochet, alternating them. So wherever there was a single crochet, we are placing 3 double crochets. Then where there is a shell, we are placing a single crochet into the second double crochet of that shell. A shell is the 3 double crochets that we are working together. So now we're going to keep alternating these until we get to the end of row 3. So I'm coming to the end of row 3 and I'm just placing my 3 double crochets alternated by the single crochet. I have my 3 double crochets towards the end, and the last stitch will be a single crochet on top of the chain 2 from the beginning of row 2. So place your single crochet right there, and you're done with row 3. We're going to chain 2 and turn. So notice that we are alternating also between the chain 2s and the chain 1. Start with a double crochet at the beginning to get 2 double crochets, single crochet on top of the second double crochet, 3 double crochets on top of the chain of the single crochet, and then now we keep going. Single crochet next, 3 double crochets next into the single crochet stitch, and work to the end of row 4. I'll meet you at the end of row 4. At the end of row 4, I'll place 2 double crochets on top of the single crochet stitch. And right there we have the 4 rows. At this point, I'm going to change the color from gray into the next color. But if you don't want to change your colors, you can keep going, alternating between row 2 and row 3. To work row 5, we're going to chain 1 and turn, then begin with a single crochet into that first stitch, yarn over, skip the second stitch and work 3 double crochets into the single crochet stitch. And then now we're just going to keep going, repeating the rows. Row 5 is the same as row 3. Row 6 is the same as row 2. That is, all the even rows are worked the same, all the odd rows are also worked the same. So this is for those who want to continue with that color. But if you want to change your colors, you're going to chain 1 at the end. After doing that last double crochet, we chain 1 and then cut off the yarn at that point. I'll be changing my colors at the end of every 4 rows. So after the 4th row, I'll just get a pair of scissors and cut off the yarn. Then I'll pull the yarn through and fasten, and then I'll turn my work to the other side and get the second yarn and connect it on that very first stitch. And when we get this yarn, we're going to begin with a slip knot. Then we insert the hook into the very first stitch at the beginning of row 5 and slip stitch. Because that was a double crochet, we're going to chain 1 and go back into that double crochet with a single crochet. Then we're going to skip over to the single crochet stitch and place 3 double crochets. Then we're going to work a single crochet on the middle double crochet, 3 double crochets onto the single crochet stitches, the single crochet stitch, that is a single crochet, then 3 double crochets. And now we keep going. Just like I've mentioned, all the even rows, we work them the same way. All the odd rows, we work them the same. So keep going to the end of row 5. When you get to the end, you're going to chain 2 and turn to begin row 6. And we're going to work row 6 the same as row 2. Then we're going to work row 7, same as row 3. I'm coming to the end of that row and I'm just placing my 3 double crochets into the single crochet stitch, followed by the single crochet on top of the middle double crochet, 3 double crochets onto the single crochet stitch, 3 double crochets. Then finally we're going to have a single crochet onto the chain 2 from the previous row. We are done with row 5. So we're going to work row 6, row 7, row 8. At the end of row 8, I'll cut off the yarn and connect the next color. I've worked a total of 5 colors and each color is 4 rows. So in total I have 20 rows. And the measurement of the width of my panel is around 7 inches. But when I give it a little bit of a stretch, it gets me to 9. But then I don't want to stretch, so I'll be adding that darker shade of brown onto my 2 panels to get me to 25 rows each. After my 25 rows, this is what I have. And now when I measure this, it gets me to 9 without stretching. So I have my 2 panels ready, and now we need to connect them. But before then, we're going to create the sleeve for each of the panels. As you can see, I'm at 9 inches without stretching. So fold your work into 2, and then you need to determine the middle stitch of your panel. Get a stitch marker and mark that stitch. Next, we're going to get the measuring tape and measure out the armhole of our top. And I want a length of between 7 to 9 inches. I'm going to go with 8 inches. So then I'll get a stitch marker and mark that 8-inch mark on the side of the top. Mark that point. And then we're going to join the top from, so that's our armhole. We're going to join the top from the bottom up to the point where we've placed the second stitch marker. So chain 1 and turn. Actually, I should have marked on the wrong side, so I'll just turn this to the wrong side and then I'll mark because I need to work on this side of the top. So measure out the 8 inches, then get the stitch marker and mark that point. And then we're just going to join the corresponding stitches with single crochets. I've already chained 1 and turned, so I'm going to insert my hook into the very first stitch on this side of the panel. Go into that very first stitch. Then we're going to get the other end into the first stitch, insert our hook. Then we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, then do a single crochet into the second stitch and the second stitch on the other side. Join them with a single crochet, and then we join the third stitches, then the fourth, and I'm joining for a total of 15 stitches, joining each of those two stitches from the opposite side of the panel with a single crochet. So let me go on, join for 15 stitches, and then I'll be done with that joining on the side of the top. If your stitches are more, you might have to join up to 20, 25. It all depends with the length of the top that you've made. So if you're working the same exact size as my top, you're going to join 15 stitches. If you've done a longer top, you might have to join for 20, 25, or even 30. Once I get to the stitch before the stitch marker, we're done with the joining. So I'm just going to pull out the stitch markers because I don't need them anymore. We're done with the joining. So what we're going to do next is just pull up the loop and turn the top to the right side. And this is what we have. We're going to do a single crochet edging on the armhole. And to do that, you need to make sure that your yarn is on the right side of the top. Pull up that loop so that it doesn't fall off. And then bring your yarn on top and work 1 single crochet into every stitch around the sleeve. We begin with that very first stitch that is close to the point where we've ended joining the 2 panels. Place a single crochet, and we are basically just placing 1 single crochet into every stitch. So wherever there is a stitch, place a single crochet. Wherever there is a double crochet, we place in a single crochet, and then we also place in a single crochet wherever there is a single crochet, and then we just go all the way around the sleeve of the top. I'm placing my last single crochet, then I'll do a slip stitch on top of the very first single crochet that I did, then chain 1 and cut off the yarn, and we are done with the joining on that panel together with a single crochet edging for the sleeve. And this is how that panel will look like. So you need to join the other panel, and then we're going to join them together. I have my 2 panels ready and joined together to create the armhole. So the next thing that we're going to do is connect the 2 pieces together in order to complete the top. We are placing the 2 pieces side by side like this. Then you're going to connect in the middle, leaving a space for the neckline, and we're going to be joining from the bottom going up. This will be the neckline up to a point right there. And for the neckline, I'm going to leave out 20 stitches. You can leave out 20 or 25. It's totally dependent on you. So insert your hook into the very first stitch at the bottom and join it to the first stitch at the bottom on the other panel. Then you're going to get the yarn and slip stitch it onto that very first stitch. So do a slip stitch and chain 1. Then we're going to go back into that stitch with a single crochet. Our next stitch will be the gap that we skipped at the beginning. So insert your hook into the gap and into the gap on the other side and do a single crochet. The next stitch will be the stitch that has the 3 double crochets. So insert your hook there and onto the corresponding stitch on the other side. As you can see, I'm working over my ends in order to weave them in. The next stitch will be the gap that we skipped and the gap that we skipped on the other side, and connect them with a single crochet. The next stitch will be the single crochet stitch. And because I've mentioned that I'm going to leave a total of 20 stitches on top, and my stitches were 80 divided by 2, which is 40. It means if I leave 20 stitches on top, I'm taking 40 minus 20, which is 20. So I'm connecting the bottom part for a total of 20 stitches. So that I leave a total of 20 on top and 20 on top on the other side. I hope that makes sense. So go on, connect your stitches. Make sure that you connect the single crochet stitches with the single crochet stitches, the gaps with the gap on the other side, the stitch where we have the double crochets with the stitch where we have the double crochets on the other side, and do that until you're satisfied with the neckline. After you're done with the 20 stitches, you chain 1 and cut off the yarn. It could be 20 for you, it could be 25 or 30, depends. So now one side of the 2 panels is joined. We only have the top part remaining, and we need to do this from the wrong side of the top. So I'll just turn my top to the wrong side and reconnect the yarn at the bottom part of the panels, just like I've done on the other side. And then I'm going to join the corresponding stitches for a total of 20 stitches, just like the number of stitches that I've done on the other side. Once you're done with the joining, you're just going to chain 1 and cut off the yarn. So I'll chain 1 and cut off the yarn. I've joined that off camera because you already know how to join. Cut off the yarn, pull it through and fasten. And we have our 2 pieces joined together into a V-neck top, like you can see. So we are almost done. I'm just going to turn my top to the right side and it's a bit too wide on the bottom part, and therefore we're going to work a waist ribbing in order to snatch it at the waist so that we can have that perfect fit. Let's confirm the length of the top. So we know the length of the ribbon that we are working. I'm at 12 inches and I want to get to 15. So that means the ribbon should be a length of 3 inches. I'm going to work with this shade and my 2.5mm crochet hook. Like I mentioned earlier, the ribbon should be done with a smaller hook, and I'm going to start with a slip knot and then a chain of 15. I believe the 15 chains will get me to the 15-inch mark. So chain 15 or 20 or 10, whatever is applicable to you, or whatever length of the ribbon that you want. After the 15 chains, I'm just going to measure these to confirm the length, and I'm at about 4 inches. But as we move along, it shrinks, so I'm giving an allowance for the shrinkage. So then I'm going to hold the last chain and chain one more, then insert my hook into that last chain and pull up a loop to get 2 loops, then work a single crochet, and then place a single crochet into the second chain, and we're going to place 1 single crochet into every chain. So I'm going to have a total of 15 chains at the end of row 1. I'm coming to the end of row 1, just placing 1 single crochet into every stitch, and this is my 15th single crochet, and that's row 1 done. Then we chain 1 and turn to begin row 2, and we're going to work in the back loops. So instead of working into 2 loops, we're going to work in just 1 loop that is at the back of the stitch. So in that back loop of the first single crochet, place a single crochet, go into the next back loop and place another single crochet, and we're going to work into the back loops of each of the stitches until we have 1 stitch remaining. I'm coming to the end of row 2, and I have that 1 stitch, and into that last stitch we're going to work into the both loops. And then this is the only side where we're going to be working both loops, so I'm going to get a stitch marker and mark that side so that I remember that as I come to the end on this side, I'll be working the both loops. But in all the other stitches, I'll be working the back loop. Chain 1 and turn to begin row 3, and we're going to begin in the back loop of the first single crochet and place a single crochet into the back loop, then a single crochet into the back loop of the next stitch, a single crochet into the back loop of the third stitch, and into all the stitches to the end. When I get to the end on this side, I'm just going to work the back loop right there. Then chain 1 and turn to begin row 4. We're going to begin in the back loop and work a single crochet into that first back loop. Then we're going to work all the way to the end. Then when we get onto the other side, which is the side where we have the stitch marker, we're going to place the last single crochet into the both loops. I'm at the end, and into that last stitch I'm going to work both loops because we are on the side where the stitch marker is. Then you're going to chain 1 and turn to begin the next row and work in the back loop. So I'm just going to repeat these rows until I get a ribbon that when I stretch it out, it gets me to my waist length, which is a length of 30 inches. So let me keep going, repeating the rows, and I'll meet you then. This is how we take the measurement. You just stretch out. I'm at around 3 inches right now, so I'll keep going with the rows till I get to 30 inches. This is after my 30 inches, which is a total of 100 rows of single crochets, and as you can see, I still have my stitch marker to show me the side where I worked the both loops in the end. And when I measure this out, when it's folded into 2, it's getting me to around, let's see, it's getting me to 11 inches without stretching. But then when I give it a stretch, it will get me to 15, which multiplied by 2 is 30. You can still get up to 16, which is 32, and I can work with that. So now we need to connect these sides. You make sure that you end on the side where the stitch marker is, then chain 1 and turn. Then we're going to connect the stitches in the back loop on this side and the back loop on the other end of the ribbon. We're going to work both loops in that first stitch and connect with a single crochet. Then the second stitch in the back loop, then both loops on the other side, connect with a single crochet, back loop on this side, both loops on the other side, and do the single crochet. And I'm going to connect for a total of 15 stitches, which is the number of stitches that I've worked with. I'm coming to the end, just joining those stitches, and I'm in the last stitch. So I'll do the joining with the single crochet and then chain 1. Chain 1. We're going to cut off the yarn right there, and we're going to leave a long end that we're going to use to connect our ribbon to the main part of the top. So this part with the stitch marker is the bottom part, and the other one is the one that goes onto the top. So when we bring our top like this, we're going to have the ribbon right there. I have a total of 100 rows for the ribbon, and coincidentally I also have 100 rows on my top, and therefore I'm going to ensure that each of the row is connected with a corresponding row. So I'm just cutting off the yarn and pulling it through so that I can use it to connect the ribbon to the top. As we do the joining, we need to make sure that we are on the wrong side. So I'm turning my ribbon to the wrong side. Then I'll also turn my top to the wrong side. The next thing that we're going to do is get a stitch marker, hold our ribbon folded into 2 like this. Then we get that one edge and put our stitch marker through. Then we're going to get one corner of the top and connect it with the stitch marker. So that is the exact middle of our ribbon and the exact middle of our top. And then we're going to start joining from the other end. So that part will be snatched together. Because I've mentioned that I have a total of 100 rows for the ribbon and 100 rows for the top, I'll make sure that I connect each of the rows to a corresponding row, regardless of whether it's a single crochet row or a double crochet row. So beginning from that point where I ended with the joining of the ribbon, I'll insert my hook into the very first row of the joining, and the joining part on the other corner of the top, and I'll just start sewing the two pieces together, making sure that the corresponding rows are joined together. So I'll go onto the next row and the second row on the top and sew them together like this. Then I'll get into the next row. I think it would be advisable that you weave in the ends so that they do not distract you. Weave them in first before you start joining to avoid them distracting you. So just make sure that you insert your hook, your darning needle into each of the rows, and make sure that you attach the corresponding row with the other row on the other side. I believe this should be simple. Just ensure that you align your rows and keep going all the way around. I'll do that, then I'll be back. I've gone on to attach the ribbon, and then I've also weaved in all my ends, and this is the right side of my top, and we are done with the top. So thank you so much if you stuck around to the end of the tutorial. If you've enjoyed the tutorial, kindly leave a like, a comment, share, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and when you get to recreate this, kindly tag me on my social media pages and I'll be reposting your work. See you in the next one. Bye.